I used to think the worst thing a person could hear was someone begging for their life. That is not true. The worst thing is hearing someone else enjoy it. I learned that during the last season of my podcast, before everything that happened at my house, before the police took my equipment, before my name stopped meaning anything except one more headline people whispered about in grocery store lines. My show was called Case File Room. It was not famous, not really. It had a loyal audience, enough to pay my mortgage if I kept the ads steady and did the editing myself. I covered old crimes from the Midwest. Missing girls, unidentified bodies, family murders nobody wanted to talk about anymore. I was not a detective. I was a former local radio producer with a decent voice and a habit of reading court records until my eyes burned. People liked that I did not act like a cop. I did not pretend to solve things. I told the story, played interviews, explained where the case had gone cold, then moved on. Sometimes a listener would send in something useful. More often they sent rumors, bad tips, theories about cults, and messages saying they were praying for the victims. My wife, Sarah, hated the show at first. She said it brought dirt into the house. She said the kitchen felt different when I spent all day listening to mothers cry in old news clips. I told her I kept it separate. Work was work. Home was home. That was a lie, but I believed it for a while. We had 2 kids. Hannah was 9 and Ben was 6. Hannah read too fast and asked questions that made adults pause. Ben slept with a stuffed gray rabbit that had lost one eye in the dryer. They both knew Dad made a podcast, but Sarah and I agreed they were never to hear it. When I recorded, I did it in the basement office with thick foam on the walls and a towel shoved under the door. The cold case that ruined me was the murder of a woman named Emily Voss. She was 26 when she died in 1998. She worked at a bank in Ashford, Ohio, a town small enough that people still described houses by who had owned them 3 families ago. She was engaged to a mechanic named Luke Bell. On a Thursday evening in October, Emily left work, stopped for groceries, and never made it home. Her car was found outside a closed furniture outlet near the highway. Her purse was still on the passenger seat. The groceries were in the back. 3 days later, a farmer found her body in a drainage ditch off County Road 12. The newspapers were careful with details. Police said she had suffered multiple injuries. They said she had been restrained. They said the crime was violent and personal. They also said they had strong leads, which usually means they did not. Emily's fiancé was questioned and cleared. A truck driver claimed he saw her speaking to a man by her car that night, but he could not describe him well. There was a partial shoe print, a few fibers, and a witness who swore she heard a woman scream near the old furniture outlet around sunset. Nothing led anywhere. The case sat for 27 years. I found it through an email from Emily's younger sister, Karen. She had listened to my episode on the Nolan County disappearances and wrote to ask if I would consider covering Emily. Her message was short. She said, "My sister has been dead longer than she was alive. People here still talk about her like she was a lesson. Don't go out alone. Don't be too nice. Don't trust strangers. I want them to remember she was a person." That line got me. I called Karen the next day. Her voice was flat, not because she did not care, but because she had been telling the story for so long that the old shape of it had worn down. She mailed me a box of clippings, photos, copied police pages, and a VHS tape of a local news segment. I watched Emily's mother stand outside the courthouse in a beige coat, saying she only wanted the person who did this to look her in the eye. Emily looked different in every photo. At work, she had the stiff smile people wear when someone says they need a picture for the company bulletin. At a family picnic, she was laughing with a paper plate in her hand. In one photo, she sat on the hood of a blue Pontiac with sunglasses pushed up on her head, looking irritated at whoever held the camera. That one made her feel real to me. I planned 6 episodes. That was longer than usual, but there was enough material. Sarah said she understood why I took the case. She also told me not to let it eat me. I told her it wouldn't. The first file came 2 weeks after I aired the trailer. It arrived in the show inbox with no subject line, from an address that looked auto-generated. There was no text in the body, just one attachment named roomtone.wav. I almost deleted it. People sent me junk all the time. Fake confessions, clips from movies, distorted breathing recorded into cheap laptop microphones. Some wanted attention. Some wanted to scare me. A few were mentally unwell and thought I could hear radio signals in their static. I downloaded it anyway, because that is the kind of mistake you make when curiosity pays your bills. The audio was 27 minutes long. At first, there was nothing. Not silence exactly. A low hum, like an appliance running somewhere nearby. A soft shuffle. Someone breathing through their nose. Then a man whispered, too close to the microphone, "She has no idea." I stopped the file. My hand stayed on the keyboard. The basement was quiet except for the furnace clicking behind the wall. I played it again. "She has no idea," the man said. His voice was calm. He sounded young, not a teenager, but younger than I expected. There was a rustle, then the faint sound of traffic passing at a distance. After a while, I heard a car door shut. A woman's voice, far away, said something I could not make out. The man laughed under his breath. I sat forward so fast the chair creaked. There was another sound. Footsteps on gravel. Keys jingling. A paper bag being lifted or moved. Then the woman spoke again, closer this time. "Can I help you?" I knew that voice before I admitted it to myself. Not from life. From the VHS tape. From Emily Voss smiling nervously into a local reporter's microphone at a charity raffle, saying they were hoping for good weather. The file kept going. The man spoke to her in a normal tone. He said his truck would not start. He asked if she had jumper cables. Emily said she didn't think so. He apologized. He sounded embarrassed, harmless. She told him there was a payphone near the highway. He said he had tried it and it was dead. I could hear her hesitate. I knew the case. I knew where she was standing. I knew what had happened after. Still, some stupid part of me wanted to warn her. I wanted to slap the desk and shout at a dead woman through a pair of speakers. The man thanked her for checking. She opened her trunk. The sound changed then. Quick movement. A gasp cut off by cloth or a hand. Something heavy struck metal. A bag dropped. Emily made a muffled sound that rose into panic. The man grunted with effort. He said, "Easy, easy. Don't make it ugly yet." I pulled off my headphones and threw them on the desk. The file kept playing softly from the speakers. I heard scraping. A woman choking on fear. The man saying her name. Emily made a sound that did something to me. It was not a scream. It was a small, shocked sound, like she had just recognized that the world had changed and could not change back. I closed the laptop. For a long time, I just sat there. Sarah called down that dinner was ready. I said I would be up in a minute. My voice cracked, so I cleared my throat and said it again. At the table, Hannah talked about a girl in her class who had eaten paste. Ben asked if dinosaurs could get ear infections. Sarah looked at me twice and knew something was wrong. She did not ask in front of the kids. After they went to bed, she found me in the kitchen, staring into the sink. "Is it the case?" she asked. "I got something," I said. "What kind of something?" "I don't know yet." She folded her arms. "That means you do know, and you don't want to say." I told her about the file, not all of it, but enough. Her face tightened. "You need to call the police." "I will." "When?" "Tomorrow. Tonight. It's almost midnight. It's evidence in a murder. I don't know if it's real." She stared at me. I hated that stare because it was usually right. I called the Ashford Police Department and left a message. Then I emailed the file to the detective listed on the cold case page, a man named Robert Haynes. He had not worked the original case. He was probably in middle school when Emily died. I did not sleep much. The next morning, Detective Haynes called me while I was taking Ben to school. I let it go to voicemail, dropped Ben off, then sat in the parking lot and called back. Haynes had a tight voice, not unfriendly, but careful. "Mr. Larkin, where did you get this recording?" I told him. "You have the original email?" "Yes." "Do not delete it. Do not respond to it. Do not share the file with anyone." "I understand." "Have you played it on your show?" "No." "Good, don't." There was a pause. I asked, "Is it real?" He did not answer right away. I heard papers move on his end. "We're evaluating it." That sounds like yes. It sounds like we're evaluating it. I looked through the windshield at kids walking into school with backpacks bouncing against their shoulders. "I need to know what I'm dealing with," I said. "No, you need to preserve the evidence and let us do our job." He was right. I knew he was right. But the part of me that made the show was already standing up, already sniffing the air. "Was there a recording in the original evidence?" I asked. "I'm not discussing the case file with you." "Detective, if someone sent this to me, it might be because I'm covering it." "Then stop covering it." He said it quickly, like he had decided before calling. I laughed once, not because it was funny. "That's not how this works." "That is exactly how it works if a killer is contacting you." He told me again not to respond. He said an officer would come by to collect a copy of the email headers and audio metadata. He told me not to mention the recording publicly. When I got home, Sarah was waiting in the doorway in her robe. "What did they say?" "They're looking at it." "And the show?" I did not answer fast enough. "Mark, I'm not going to play the file." "That isn't what I asked." I took off my coat. I can't just stop. Karen trusted me with this. Emily's family has waited almost 30 years. "Do you hear yourself?" "Yes." You got sent audio of a woman being attacked by the person who killed her. That person might still be alive. He knows who you are. The show has a P.O. box. The email is public. That doesn't mean he knows where we live. Sarah looked past me toward the street. You sure? I was not. An officer came that afternoon. He was polite and young, with acne scars along his jaw. He copied files from my laptop to a department drive, took screenshots, and asked the same questions in different ways. Had I expected anything like this? Had I been contacted by anyone claiming to be the killer? Had I told anyone about the file? I said only Sarah and Detective Haynes. The officer left. I watched his cruiser pull away. Then I went downstairs and opened the laptop. I told myself I needed to hear the rest, so I could understand what I had received. I told myself I was still a journalist, or close enough. I told myself lots of things. The rest of roomtone.wav was worse because it did not hurry. The recording moved from the parking lot to what sounded like a vehicle. Emily's voice was muffled. She was crying and trying to bargain. The man spoke over her in a patient tone. He told her to breathe through her nose. He told her he had watched her before. He told her what she had bought at the store. Milk, apples, laundry soap, a magazine. He said it like a joke, only he understood. The recording ended before they reached wherever he took her. The last sound was a turn signal clicking steadily while Emily sobbed under tape or cloth. I sat there after it ended, feeling like the basement had moved farther underground. I did not use any of it in episode 1. I did not even mention it. I opened with Emily's life, not her death. I interviewed Karen. I described Ashford as it was in 1998. I talked about the bank, the engagement, the grocery receipt. I was careful, respectful. The episode did well. Too well. The comments filled up with people saying they were hooked, that this was going to be the best season yet. A few said they remembered the case. One woman wrote that her aunt had worked with Emily and still kept her photo in a drawer. Another said she had been warned about the furniture outlet her whole childhood. That evening, after the kids were asleep, Sarah asked if I had listened to the whole file. I lied. No. She knew. She let it sit between us for a while. Then she said, "You're different when you come upstairs. I'm tired. You're cold." That hurt because I had felt it too. Not cold like cruel. Cold like a room with no heat left in the walls. "I'm sorry," I said. She reached across the couch and touched my hand. I let her, but I did not hold on. The second file arrived 3 days later. It was named openhouse.wav. I did what Haynes told me not to do. I clicked the sender first. Different address. Same blank message. I called Haynes before opening the attachment. He swore under his breath when I told him. Forward it. Don't listen. Do you think he's sending pieces in order? Forward it, Mark. You're not telling me anything. Because you're not part of the investigation. He made me part of it. Haynes got quiet. No, he said. He is trying to make you feel that way. There's a difference. I almost listened to him. I forwarded the email. Then I sat at my desk for 20 minutes with my hands folded. I looked at the photos pinned to the corkboard. Emily in sunglasses, Emily at work, Emily with her sister on a porch swing. The file sat on my desktop. I opened it. This one began indoors. There was a buzz from fluorescent lights. A large empty room, judging by the echo. The old furniture outlet, maybe, or somewhere like it. Emily's breathing was ragged and close to the mic. The man was moving around, opening drawers, dragging something across the floor. He hummed while he worked. Not a song, just a little tuneless sound, like someone doing chores. Emily tried to speak. Tape pulled at her mouth. The man told her he would take it off if she promised not to scream. He said there was nobody around to hear her, but screaming annoyed him. When he removed it, her first word was Luke. Not help, not please. Luke. The man laughed. He isn't coming, he said. Nobody is. That's the point. I stopped the file and went upstairs. Sarah was in the laundry room folding Ben's pajamas. I stood in the doorway until she noticed me. What? She asked. I need you to take the kids to your mom's for a few days. She put down the pajama shirt. Why? I got another file. Her mouth pressed into a hard line. I'm not leaving you here with this. I don't want them in the house if this person knows where we are. Then come with us. I can't. You can. I have work to do. She looked at me like I had become someone she had not invited in. Work? I need to figure out what he wants. He wants you to listen. That is what he wants. And you are doing it. I hated her then for saying it. Not forever. Not even for long. But in that moment, I hated her because she had named the thing I did not want to see. She packed bags that night. Hannah cried because she had a spelling test. Ben thought it was a trip and asked if Grandma had waffles. Sarah moved through the house with that controlled, angry quiet people use when they are afraid of breaking down. Before she left, she stood by the front door with the kids already buckled in the car. Come with us, she said. I will after I talk to Haynes. Don't make me chase you. I won't. She kissed me on the cheek. It felt formal. After they drove away, the house became too large. I went downstairs and finished openhouse.wav. I will not write every sound here. Even now, after all the court transcripts and evaluations, after everything they say I did and everything I know I did, there are parts I will not put into words. He hurt her slowly. That is the simplest way to say it. And the simplest way is bad enough. He talked while he did it. He told Emily she was lucky because she was going to become important. He said most people disappeared into bills and laundry and bad marriages, but she would be remembered. He said her family would sit around tables for years and say her name. Emily begged. She tried to reason with him. She asked what she had done. Nothing, he said. He sounded pleased by that. There was a moment near the end when she stopped begging and started apologizing. Not to him, to her mother, to Luke, to Karen. She said she was sorry she did not come straight home. The man shushed her. Don't waste it on them, he said. You're here with me. I paused the file after that and vomited into the trash can beside my desk. Then I wiped my mouth and kept listening. I do not know why. That is not true. I know why. Because the file was there, and because he wanted me to hear it, and because by then I already felt like stopping would be a kind of failure. The episode that week was about the scene at the furniture outlet. I did not play the audio, but I described the building from old property records and news footage. I mentioned that police believed Emily had been taken from the parking lot, but I did not say why I now knew it. I kept hearing the scrape of whatever he dragged across the floor. Listeners praised the detail. One review said, "This season feels so immersive, it's like you're there." I almost deleted the whole show after reading that. Instead, I recorded episode 3. Haynes came to my house 2 days later with another detective and a warrant. He was shorter than I expected, broad in the shoulders, with tired skin under his eyes. He did not waste time on small talk. "We're taking the laptop," he said. "I have work on there." "You have evidence on there." "I sent you everything." "You also listened after being instructed not to." I looked at the warrant. It listed computers, external drives, recording equipment, notes, and email accounts connected to the podcast. "You think I made them?" I said. Haynes did not blink. "We're ruling things out." That should have offended me more than it did. Mostly I felt tired. They spent 3 hours in my house. They bagged hard drives and memory cards. They took the cheap headphones I wore while editing. The other detective photographed my corkboard and the printed case notes spread across the desk. Haynes found the trash can liner I had vomited in and looked at it for a second before turning away. When they were done, he stood at the basement door with a cardboard evidence box under one arm. "Where's your family?" "At my mother-in-law's." "Keep them there." "You found something." He looked at me for a long moment. "The first file includes details never released. The second one, too." My mouth went dry. "So it's him. We don't know who it is, but it's real. We believe the recordings are authentic." I leaned against the wall. Haynes lowered his voice. "Mark, listen to me. Whoever sent these has held on to them for a long time, or got access to them somehow. He may be old, he may be dead, and someone else found them. We don't know yet, but the sender is using you." "For what?" "To perform." The word hit me in a place I did not expect. Haynes said, "Stop the season." I almost said yes. I really did. But then my phone buzzed on the table upstairs. Haynes saw my face change. "What is it?" I went up before he could stop me. New email, blank subject, attachment, smileform.wav. Haynes took the phone from my hand. He read the screen. His jaw moved once. "You didn't open it?" "No." He put the phone in airplane mode and called someone from his own. The file went to the police before I heard it. For once I did what I was told. I wish that had mattered. By then, the audience had noticed something strange. I had posted a brief update saying the next episode would be delayed due to developments in the case. That was all. People started guessing. Some thought police had reopened the investigation. Some thought I had found a living suspect. Some accused me of holding back for drama. Karen called me that night. "What is going on?" she asked. I hated that I could not tell her. Haynes had been clear. He said if I described the files to anyone, I could damage the investigation and hurt the family more. "There are new materials," I said. "What kind?" "I can't say yet." "Are they about Emily?" "Yes." Karen's breathing changed. Is it bad? I closed my eyes. Yes. She was quiet for a while. Then she said, "Did she suffer?" I had known that question was coming. Every family asks it, even when they already know. They want the truth, and they do not. They want one kind sentence inside a room full of knives. I don't know how to answer that, I said. She started crying without making much noise. I hated myself then. Not because I had caused her pain. The pain had been there for 27 years. I hated myself because some part of me was already thinking about how her silence would sound in the episode if she ever let me use it. That is what the work did to me, or what I let it do. Sarah called after Karen. She asked if the police had come. I said yes. "Good," she said. "Now leave it." "I can't." "You keep saying that." "Because it's true." "No, you won't. There's a difference." I sat at the kitchen table with the lights off. "What do you want me to do?" I asked. "I want you to come here tonight." "I don't have my laptop. They took my drives." "That is not what I asked. I need to make calls tomorrow." She let out a breath that sounded more sad than angry. "The kids keep asking when you're coming." "I'll come tomorrow." "Promise?" "Yes." I meant it when I said it. The next morning, Haynes called and asked me to come to the station. The Ashford Police Department was 2 hours away. I drove through flat winter fields, past barns with peeling paint and gas stations selling bait. My phone sat in the cup holder, silent. I kept thinking about smileform.wav sitting somewhere in an evidence system, being played by people trained not to react. Haynes met me in a small interview room. He had coffee. He did not offer me any. "We traced the email accounts," he said. "Dead ends so far. Public Wi-Fi, overseas relays, nothing clean." "Why am I here?" He placed a printed photo on the table. It showed a section of concrete floor. There was a dark stain and a small piece of tape with a number beside it. "This is from the original scene processing at the furniture outlet," he said. I looked at it, confused. He put another photo beside it. This one was newer. Same floor, same stained concrete, but the building was empty and cleaner. The stain was faint. "We got this yesterday," he said. "From where?" "Attached to an email sent to you, but filtered before delivery. Same sender pattern as the audio files." I looked closer. In the newer photo, someone had placed a small cassette recorder on the floor. Not a modern digital recorder. A black handheld cassette unit with a built-in microphone. Haynes tapped the image. "This was taken recently." My stomach turned. He went back. "Someone did." "To the place he killed her?" "Yes." I pushed the photo away. "Why show me?" "Because there was text in the email." That got my attention. Haynes read from a page. "He likes the sound of old rooms. Tell him to keep listening." I felt a weak pressure behind my eyes. Tell him? You. Why would he write about me like that? To make you wonder. It worked. Haynes studied me. "Have you received anything else by mail? Packages? Tapes? Notes?" "No." "Have you noticed anyone around your house?" "No." "Any listener who has become fixated on you?" I almost laughed. Half the job was sorting through fixation. People sent long emails about dreams, suspects, theories, their own childhood trauma. They thought because I spoke into their ears, we knew each other. I can send you a list, I said. Do that. He leaned back. There's something else. We found degradation patterns in the audio consistent with cassette transfer. These were likely recorded on tape originally, then digitized. The hiss, the motor noise, dropouts. We're still analyzing. Could they have been in police evidence? He did not like the question. We're checking chain of custody. So yes, possibly. We're checking. I thought of every old evidence locker, every retirement party, every box of tapes in a basement, a killer's private archive gathering dust while people died, moved away, forgot. Can I hear the third file? I asked. Haynes looked at me like he was seeing a disease show itself under skin. No. I heard the first two. And look at you. I did not answer. He said, You're not sleeping. You're pale. Your hands haven't stopped moving since you sat down. I looked down. My right thumb was rubbing a raw spot into my left palm. Go to your family, he said. Stay there. Don't post. Don't record. Don't answer strange emails. Let us work. I left the station angry, though he had done nothing wrong. On the drive home, I kept hearing his words. And look at you. At a rest stop, I locked myself in a bathroom stall and checked the show inbox on my phone. Nothing new. Then I checked the spam folder. There it was. The email had been caught by the filter. No subject. Attachment. Smileform_copy.wav. My hands went numb. The police had the first copy. This one had come to me anyway. Maybe at the same time. Maybe after. I should have called Haynes. I should have thrown the phone into the toilet. I should have driven straight to Sarah's mother's house and held my kids until they complained. Instead, I went out to my car, plugged the phone into the auxiliary cable, and played it through the speakers. The file began with Emily crying. Not the sharp crying from the first two files. This was exhausted. Her voice was torn down to almost nothing. She breathed like each breath had to be decided on first. The man said, "Say it." Emily did not answer. "Say what I told you." She whispered something I could not hear. Louder. "I'm not special," she said. "That's right. I'm not special." Again. She said it again. He sounded delighted. Not loud, not wild. Delight can be quiet. That is what people do not understand. The worst ones do not always shout. Sometimes they are gentle because they know nobody can stop them. He made her say other things. Cruel things. Things meant to break whatever part of her was still standing inside. He mocked the way she prayed. He imitated her begging until she made a weak sound of protest. He told her Luke would marry someone else and sometimes forget her birthday. Then he asked her to smile. She cried harder. He said, "You owe me one nice picture." There was a click and a mechanical whine. Not the recorder. A camera winding film. "Smile, Emily." She tried. I could hear it. I do not know how, but I could. The wet breath, the shape of her mouth changing because he had asked, and she was past refusing. He took the picture. Then he said my name. Not in the original recording. Not to Emily. His voice changed. The audio dipped, and another layer came in, cleaner, recorded recently over the old file. "Mark," he said, "are you smiling too?" I hit the brakes so hard a truck behind me blared its horn. The car rocked on the shoulder. My phone slid onto the floor mat. The file kept playing. "Do you feel close to her yet?" the man asked. His voice was older now, dry, thin at the edges. But it was him. I knew it without proof. The same careful pleasure lived inside it. "You will." The file returned to 1998. Emily was saying no, 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 in a voice that barely had strength. Something struck, not like in movies, a dull, wet impact. Then another. I grabbed the phone and stopped it. Outside, cars passed in hard gusts. I called Haynes. He answered with my name like a warning. "I found another copy in spam," I said. "You opened it." I could not speak. "Mark." He says my name. Silence. "He added it," I said. He recorded over the old audio. "Where are you?" I looked at the rest stop sign. I told him, "Stay there." "No, stay there. I'm going home." "Mark, listen to me." But I ended the call. I do not know why I went home instead of to Sarah. Pride, maybe. Fear. The feeling that if I went to my family in that state, I would bring the recording with me like a sickness on my clothes. At home, the police were waiting within an hour. Haynes took my phone. This time he was angry enough not to hide it. "You understand you may have compromised evidence." He sent it to me. "And you keep rewarding him." I shouted at him then. I said he had no idea what it was like to be pulled into something and given no answers. I said the police had failed Emily in 1998 and were failing her again. I said if they had done their jobs, there would not be tapes for me to receive. Haynes let me run out of words. Then he said, "You think listening is helping her?" I had no answer. He left with the phone. I stood in the open doorway long after his car pulled away. That night, I slept on the couch with all the lights on. I dreamed of a camera flash. The next days blurred. I did not release another episode. I posted a statement saying the season was paused due to an active investigation. The audience split into camps. Some were supportive. Some were angry. A few thought it was marketing. Those were the ones I hated most, because I understood how they had gotten there. True crime teaches people to expect pain on schedule. Sarah came home once while the kids were at school to get clothes and check on me. She found the kitchen sink full, the trash overflowing, mail scattered across the floor. "You can't stay like this," she said. "I'm fine." "You look sick." "I'm not sleeping." "I know." She walked through the house, picking things up, not because she wanted to clean, but because her hands needed something to do. I followed her from room to room like a stranger in my own home. In the bedroom, she opened the closet and froze. "What is this?" I looked past her. On the closet door, taped at eye level, was the photo of Emily on the blue Pontiac. I had printed it weeks earlier for the corkboard, but now it was upstairs. "I must have moved it," I said. "You must have?" "I don't remember." Sarah turned around slowly. "Mark, Come with me today. We'll call a doctor. We'll call Haynes from the car. Whatever you need. I can't leave the house. Why? What if he sends something else? Her face broke a little then. You're waiting for it. No. You are. I wanted to deny it, but the word would not come. The house seemed to listen with me. Every email alert, every furnace groan, every car slowing outside made my body tighten. Sarah stepped closer. I love you, she said. But I won't let this come near the kids. It's already near us. No, you're bringing it near us. I slapped the closet door. She flinched. I had never made her flinch before. The shame of that should have stopped me. It did not. It curdled into anger because I could not stand seeing myself reflected in her fear. I'm trying to finish this, I said. There is no finishing it for you. You don't know that. I know you. I laughed in a way that sounded ugly even to me. Maybe you don't. She looked at me for a long time. Then she took the clothes she had packed and left without saying goodbye. I sat on the bed after she was gone and stared at the closet door. Emily smiled from the Pontiac, irritated and alive. The next file did not come by email. It came in a padded envelope with no return address. Inside was a cassette tape. It was clear plastic with no label, the kind you could buy in packs at office supply stores years ago. I held it in my palm and felt something inside me go very still. The police had my main equipment, but I still had an old tape deck in a storage bin. I used it to digitize archive interviews sometimes. It took me 10 minutes to find it in the garage. I did not call Haynes. The tape clicked into place. For a while there was only hiss. Then the older voice spoke. Cassettes feel better, don't they, Mark? I stopped breathing. You have to touch them. You have to turn them over. You have to wait. He coughed. It sounded real, phlegmy, close to the microphone. I wanted you to hear one without the police between us. I sat on the basement floor because the chair felt too high. I've listened to you talk about her, he said. You use the soft voice for the dead, the careful one. You're good at it. But you're hungry too. That's why I picked you. The tape hissed around his breath. You know the truth about people like me? We don't create the room. We only step into it first. Everybody else comes later. Police, reporters, sisters, men like you. They bring chairs. I wanted to turn it off. My hand stayed on my knee. You think Emily belongs to Karen? To Luke? To the town? No. She belonged to me in that room. Now she belongs to you when you listen. That's how it works. I whispered, No. The man laughed softly. Then the old recording started again. It was near the end. Emily was barely conscious. He was tired too. His breathing had changed. There was effort in it. He moved around the room, picking things up, cleaning or arranging. He spoke to her as if they had spent an ordinary day together. You did fine, he told her. She made a sound that might have been a word. I know, he said. I know. He almost sounded kind. That was what made it unbearable. Then he killed her. There was no music, no final speech, no clean cut from life to death. It was physical and clumsy and intimate in the worst possible way. Emily fought for a few seconds because the body fights even when the person inside is gone from fear. He cursed at her once, out of breath. Something knocked against the floor. The tape deck motor hummed under everything. Then there was only him breathing. For a long time. Longer than I thought a person could stand over what they had done and just breathe. He said, "There." That was all. The tape kept running. I heard water from somewhere, a door opening, a car passing outside. At one point he dragged something heavy. I pressed my fists into my eyes until light burst behind them. When side A ended, the deck clicked off. I turned the tape over. I do not remember deciding to do that. Side B was new. The older man spoke from what sounded like a kitchen. There was a clock ticking in the background, dishes being moved, maybe a kettle. "I kept the picture," he said. "The one where she smiled. Police never found it. They never found a lot of things." A drawer opened. "She looked different after. People always do. That's not the part I remember. I remember when she understood she was alone. That is the moment. Everything after is just work." He breathed through his mouth. "I'm dying, Mark. That's not drama. It's a fact. Doctor says months if I'm lucky. I don't feel lucky. My hands hurt. My lungs are bad. I can't sleep unless I hear something from back then." The tape picked up a wet cough. I thought about sending everything to the police, but police lock things away. Men like you open boxes. A pause. Open the next one. The tape ended. I stayed on the floor until my legs went numb. When I finally stood, the room tilted. I stumbled to the desk and found my backup phone, an old cracked one I kept in a drawer. It still worked on Wi-Fi. I emailed Haynes. "I have a tape." Then I sat beside it like a dog guarding a dead bird. Haynes arrived with 2 officers. He did not yell this time. That was worse. "Did you play it?" he asked. "Yes." "All of it?" "Yes." He closed his eyes for half a second. The officers took the tape deck too. They photographed the envelope and asked where I found it. Haynes sent someone to look at the mailbox, the porch, the street. A neighbor's doorbell camera had caught a dark sedan slowing by my house before sunrise, but the plate was unreadable. Before leaving, Haynes handed me a card with a therapist's number on it. "I'm not insulting you," he said. "Call her. I don't need therapy. You need sleep. You need distance. You need someone who knows what secondary trauma looks like." I didn't get traumatized secondhand. He looked at me. "No," he said. "You volunteered for it." I did not call the therapist. Instead, I searched medical obituaries. Men in Ohio dying of lung disease. Men old enough to have killed Emily in 1998 and still alive now. I cross-checked property records near the furniture outlet. I built spreadsheets. I looked at retired workers from the bank, delivery routes, former police employees, janitors, mechanics, anyone with a link to Emily or the scene. I stopped eating regular meals. I drank coffee until my stomach burned. When I slept, I woke with my jaw clenched so hard my teeth ached. The house changed around me. Dishes grew fur in the sink. The kids' drawings on the fridge began to look staged, like evidence photos from before something happened. A family in colored pencil. 4 people holding hands under a yellow sun. Dad had square glasses. and a smile too wide for his face. Sometimes I heard Emily when the house was quiet. Not her words. I never heard clear words. Just the shape of fear behind the walls. I knew it was lack of sleep. I knew it was my brain misfiring. I told myself that every time. Then I would check the inbox again. One night, after midnight, I found myself standing in Hannah's room. I do not remember walking there. The room was empty because she was still at her grandmother's. Her bed was made. A row of stuffed animals sat against the pillow. On her desk, she had left a half-finished drawing of a horse with wings. I picked it up and stared at the careful purple lines. My eyes filled with tears so fast it surprised me. I sat on her bed and cried into my hands. That should have been the moment I left the house. That should have been enough. Instead, I went downstairs and recorded. I made an episode I never released. The file was called confession_mix_final, which is a stupid name because it was not a confession and it was not final. I talked for almost 2 hours. I said the show had become part of the case. I said the killer was alive, or someone close to him was. I said the public deserved to know. I said withholding information protected institutions, not victims. Then I played a few seconds of roomtone.wav. Only a few seconds. Emily saying, "Can I help you?" I stopped it and started sobbing so hard the microphone clipped. I deleted the file in the morning. At least I thought I did. Later, during the trial, the prosecution played part of it to show my state of mind. Hearing myself cry in that basement was worse than hearing any stranger. I sounded emptied out. The police found a suspect before I did. His name was Dennis Harrow. Haynes told me because he thought I might hear it somewhere else and do something reckless. Harrow was 73, a retired appliance repairman who had lived outside Ashford for most of his life. In 1998, he had done contract work for several businesses near the furniture outlet. He drove a dark green van then. He had been interviewed once after Emily's murder because a witness saw a similar van near the lot. He had an alibi from his wife, now dead. Nothing had come of it. Harrow had been diagnosed with late-stage lung cancer the previous year. Police found him after tracing the dark sedan from my neighborhood through traffic cameras to a used car registered under his nephew's name. They got warrants for Harrow's house and a storage unit. In the storage unit, they found tapes, not just Emily. That is when the case became something else. There were at least 4 women, maybe 5. Some recordings were incomplete. Some had names. Some only had dates. One was from before Emily. 2 were after. Different counties, different victims, cases that had never been connected. He had kept photographs, jewelry, driver's licenses, hair clips, 1 shoe. Haynes did not tell me all of that at once. Some came out later. Some leaked. Some I learned from discovery after my arrest, when my lawyer shoved papers at me in a room that smelled like mop water and said the state was going to bury me if I did not stop talking. At the time, all Haynes said was, "We have him." I was standing in my kitchen looking at the phone on the counter. "You arrested him? He's in custody." "Did he confess?" "Not to me." "Can I talk to him?" "No." The speed of his answer made me feel foolish. "He contacted me," I said. "He victimized you." "I'm not a victim. You don't get to decide that today." I pressed my forehead against the cabinet. "What happens now?" Now the families get notified. Now we build cases. Now you stay away. He said more, but I barely heard it. We have him. The words should have brought relief. They did for maybe a minute. Then something ugly rose under it. If they had him, why did I still feel watched? If he was in custody, why did I still hear the tapes when the room was quiet? If it was over, why did I need the next file more than ever? Sarah came home with the kids that weekend. It was supposed to be temporary. She said we needed to talk in person and figure out what came next. I cleaned the house badly before they arrived. I threw away old coffee cups, opened windows, shoved case papers into boxes and taped them shut. I took Emily's photo off the closet door and put it in the basement with the rest. When the kids ran in, I almost fell apart. Ben hit my legs first, wrapping his arms around my knees. Hannah hugged me more carefully, like she was old enough to sense adults could break. Sarah stood behind them with overnight bags, watching. I made pancakes for dinner because Ben asked. I burned the first batch and the smoke alarm went off. Everyone laughed except me at first. Then I did too loudly. For an hour, we were almost normal. After dinner, Hannah asked if the bad man was caught. Sarah looked at me. I said, "Yes." "Can he get out?" "No." "Did he hurt the lady from your show?" I felt Sarah stiffen. I should have said we were not talking about that. I should have protected her from the shape of it. Instead, I said, "Yes." Hannah looked down at her plate. Why? That question had followed me for weeks. It had followed Karen for decades. It had followed Emily into that room. I had read psychology books and FBI papers and interviews with killers. None of them answered it in a way that mattered. "Because something was wrong with him," I said. Hannah nodded, but she did not look satisfied. Later, Sarah told me not to talk about the case with the kids. I didn't mean to. You never mean to. We were in the bedroom. She was unpacking. I stood by the dresser, watching her place folded clothes into drawers that still smelled like cedar. "I'm trying," I said. "I know." The kindness in her voice nearly undid me. She turned around. "But trying doesn't make you safe." I stared at her. "Safe? For yourself. For us. You think I would hurt you? I think you are not yourself." "That's not an answer." She closed the drawer. "I don't know." The room went very still. I wanted to be angry. Instead, I felt a deep, spreading panic, because she had said the thing I had been circling for days. I did not know either. That night, I slept in our bed for the first time in weeks. Sarah lay beside me, her back turned. I watched the dark window and tried not to hear the tape. Sometime before dawn, I woke from a dream where a camera flash kept going off behind my eyes. I went downstairs for water. There was an envelope on the kitchen table. For a few seconds, I thought Sarah had put it there. A bill, maybe. A school form. Then I saw my name written across it in block letters. Mark. No stamp, no address. Inside was a photograph. Emily Voss, smiling. Not the Pontiac photo. Not any picture from Karen's box. This was the picture from the tape. She was in a chair. Her face was swollen. Her hair stuck to her forehead. Her smile was small and broken and forced into place by terror. Her eyes looked past the camera. Not at it. Past it. Like she was trying to leave her own body. On the back, written in the same block letters, were 5 words. Now you know the room. I made a sound that brought Sarah downstairs. She found me on the kitchen floor with the photograph face down beside me. "What is it?" she said. I could not answer. She reached for the photo. I grabbed her wrist too hard. "Don't." She pulled back, shocked. "Mark, you're hurting me." I let go. She looked at the red marks forming on her skin. The kids appeared at the top of the stairs. Hannah asked what happened. Sarah told them to go back to their rooms. Her voice shook. I slid the photo across the floor toward her because I could not hold it anymore. She saw enough. She covered her mouth and turned away. "Call Haynes," she said. I nodded. But I was looking at the kitchen window. The envelope had been placed inside the house, not in the mailbox, not on the porch. Inside. Haynes arrived with a full team this time. They dusted doors and windows. They checked locks. They asked who had keys. Sarah's mother took the kids again. Ben cried and would not let go of my shirt until Sarah peeled his fingers away. There were no signs of forced entry. Haynes asked if any door had been left unlocked. I said no. Sarah said maybe. That maybe stayed in the air. An officer found the basement window unlatched. It was small, partly hidden by shrubs outside. I had opened it weeks earlier to run a cable for better internet during a live interview. I thought I had locked it after. Maybe I had not. Maybe someone had come in while I slept. Maybe someone had been in the house more than once. Haynes pulled me aside while crime scene techs moved through the kitchen. "Harrow is in a hospital wing under guard," he said. "He didn't do this himself." Then who did? We're looking at relatives, online followers, anyone he may have contacted. He said open the next one. What? On the tape. He said open the next one. Haynes looked toward the basement. You never told me that. I forgot. You forgot? I heard how it sounded. He lowered his voice. Mark, is there another package? No. Are you sure? I was about to say yes when I thought of the boxes I had taped shut. The case notes, the printed photos, the old clippings, the way I had rushed through cleaning before Sarah came back. I went cold. Haynes saw it. Where? We went downstairs. The boxes sat under the desk. I had packed them myself. Brown packing tape across the tops. My handwriting on the sides. Voss notes. Audio transcripts. Press clips. Haynes opened the first box with a gloved hand. Papers. Folders. A copy of the grocery receipt. Nothing else. The second box held transcripts I had made from the first files. Seeing the words on paper made me feel dirty. Haynes checked between folders. The third box was heavier than it should have been. Inside, under a stack of newspaper clippings, was a small cassette recorder. Not mine. Black plastic. Built-in microphone. A strip of masking tape across the front. For Mark. Haynes said something I did not hear. I stepped back until my shoulders hit the wall. Someone had put it in my box. in my basement. Maybe while I slept. Maybe while I was upstairs with my family eating pancakes. Haynes told me to leave the room. I did not. He pressed play with a gloved finger. The recorder hissed. At first, I thought it was blank. Then I heard my own voice. Not from an episode. Not from a call. From inside my house. I was muttering, moving papers, breathing. The sound was close and low, like the recorder had been hidden under the desk. Then older audio bled in. Emily crying. The killer laughing softly. My voice over it, whispering something I could not understand. Haynes stopped the tape. He looked at me with an expression I had never seen from him before. Fear. What did you say? He asked. I don't know. He played it again. My recorded voice came through clearer the second time. I know the room, I whispered. Sarah made a sound from the stairs. I turned. She had heard it. I wanted to tell her it was not what it seemed, that I had been asleep, or half asleep, or repeating something from the photo. I wanted to say I would never. I wanted to say I was still me, but I did not know what that meant anymore. The police took me to the hospital for evaluation. Not arrested. Not then. Haynes said it was voluntary, though 2 officers stood near the door while I signed the forms. A doctor asked if I wanted to hurt myself. I said no. He asked if I wanted to hurt anyone else. I said no. He asked if I heard voices. I said no, because I knew hearing memory did not count. He asked how much I had slept. I laughed. They kept me overnight. Sarah did not visit. I did not blame her. A psychiatrist talked to me the next morning. She said trauma exposure could cause intrusive sensory experiences, dissociation, paranoia, compulsive behavior. She used careful words. She told me my brain was trying to process something no person was meant to consume repeatedly. I said, but it happened to Emily, not me. She said, your body doesn't seem to know that. They released me with instructions, medication, and an appointment. Haynes drove me home because he said he did not want me taking a cab. The house felt hollow. Sarah and the kids were at her mother's. The basement door was taped shut with police evidence seals. My office was off limits. Haynes stood in the living room. You need to go stay with someone. I don't have anyone. Your wife's family. She doesn't want me there. Then a hotel, a friend. I'm tired. He rubbed his face. Harrow died last night. I looked up. In custody? In the hospital. Respiratory failure. A strange emptiness opened in me. That's it? That's it for him. I sat on the couch. He doesn't get to explain. No. He doesn't get to say why. Would that help? I did not answer. Haynes walked to the door, then stopped. We found letters in his house, he said. Some addressed to you. We're processing them. I don't know when or if you'll be allowed to see them. What did they say? Mostly about listening. I closed my eyes. Haynes said. He knew what he was doing. He spent months watching your show before he contacted you. He chose someone he thought would keep pressing play. I opened my eyes. And he was right. Haynes did not deny it. After he left, I walked through the house without turning on lights. Every room held proof of a life I had made and then left unattended. Ben's toy cars lined up under the coffee table, Hannah's library book on the armchair, Sarah's mug by the sink, a grocery list in her handwriting, milk, bread, apples. I stared at apples until the word became meaningless. My phone buzzed. It was Sarah. I almost did not answer. Mark, I'm here. Haynes told me you're home. Yeah. How are you? I looked toward the basement door. I don't know. She was quiet. I'm scared, she said. I know. I don't want to be scared of you. My throat tightened. You should stay away for a while. I think so too. It hurt even though I had said it first. She started crying. I heard her try to hide it. I need you to get help, she said. I will. You say that. I mean it. I need you to mean it more than the case. I sat down on the floor. Harrow's dead. I know. It should be over. It can be over for you if you let it. There was a sound behind her, one of the kids asking for something. Her voice softened when she answered. That softness broke me. Tell them I love them, I said. You can tell them tomorrow. Tomorrow. Such a normal word. After we hung up, I took the medication from the hospital and set it on the kitchen counter. I poured a glass of water. I looked at the pills. Then I heard the tape deck click from the basement. I stood very still. The basement door was sealed. The police had taken the tape deck days earlier. There was no equipment down there that could make that sound. I told myself it was the furnace, a pipe, a tired house settling in cold weather. Then I heard Emily say, "Can I help you?" Clear as if she stood on the other side of the door. I backed into the counter and knocked the glass over. Water spread across the floor. The voice came again. Not from a speaker now. Not from memory, but from the center of my head. Can I help you? I pressed my hands over my ears. It did not stop. The older man spoke under her, almost tender. You know the room. I ran from the kitchen to the front porch in socks. Cold bit through the fabric. I stood under the porch light, breathing hard, while the street sat empty and calm. A dog barked somewhere. A neighbor's television flickered blue behind curtains. No one was there. I slept in the car that night with the doors locked. In the morning, I drove to Sarah's mother's house. I do not remember making the decision. I remember frost on the windshield. I remember my hands on the wheel. I remember thinking I needed to see them once, just once, so the voices would stop using them against me. I would apologize. I would hug the kids. I would tell Sarah I was checking myself back in. That was the plan, or what passed for one. I parked across the street and sat there until Sarah came out to take the trash bin to the curb. She saw my car and froze. I got out slowly, holding my hands where she could see them. I just want to talk. She looked tired. Her hair was tied back. She wore one of my old sweatshirts under her coat. You shouldn't be here. I know. Did you take the medication? No. Her face changed. I'm going to call Haynes. Please don't. Mark. I need 5 minutes. She glanced at the house. I knew the kids were inside. Maybe eating breakfast. Maybe watching cartoons on low volume because Grandma was still sleeping. Not inside, she said. Okay. We stood in the driveway like neighbors discussing a fence. I told her I was sorry. I told her I had let the case turn into something else. I told her I did not know how to get clean of it. I said all the right things, or close to them. She listened with tears in her eyes. Then Ben opened the front door. Dad. He was barefoot, wearing dinosaur pajamas. Sarah turned. Ben, go inside. He ran to me instead. I crouched because that was what my body knew to do. He threw his arms around my neck. For 1 second, the world returned. He smelled like sleep and cereal. His hair stuck up in the back. His little hand patted my shoulder. I missed you, he said. I closed my eyes. Behind him, in my head, Emily whispered, I'm not special. I opened my eyes and saw the driveway, Sarah, Ben, the open door, Hannah standing behind the screen now in her socks. I saw all of it as if through glass. The thought came quietly. They will hear it too. Not a command, not a voice from the dead. My own thought, calm and certain. They will hear it too, unless you get away from them. I stood up too fast and Ben let go of my neck. Sarah reached for him. What is it? She asked. I can't be here. Then go to the hospital. I will. You're saying that because you want me to stop being scared. No, I said. I'm saying it because I'm scared too. Hannah had opened the screen door a few inches. She looked at me with the same careful face she had used when she hugged me at home. Dad? I wanted to go to her. I wanted to kneel and tell her I was still her father, that whatever was happening inside my head was not stronger than love. But I did not trust my hands. I did not trust my own voice. So I backed away. I love you, I said. Ben started crying when I got in the car. Sarah held him with one arm and Hannah with the other. I pulled away before I could change my mind. I did not go to the hospital. That is the part I have had to say out loud more than any other. I had the choice. There was a hospital 12 minutes away. I had discharge papers in the glove compartment with phone numbers on them. I had a wife who had just told me exactly what to do. Instead, I drove until I found a motel off the interstate, the kind with outside doors and a soda machine that only took coins. I paid cash for 2 nights. The clerk did not look up long enough to see anything wrong with me. The room smelled like old smoke and lemon cleaner. The bedspread had cigarette burns in it. The heater clicked on and off under the window. I sat on the edge of the bed and waited for the tape to start. It did. By then, it did not matter that there was no tape. I heard the hiss under the heater. I heard Emily breathing in the bathroom fan. I heard Harrow's old voice in the pipes, telling me I knew the room, telling me I had opened it, telling me there were no clean hands. I called people I should not have called. An old guest from season 2 who had sold pills after his sister's case fell apart. A bartender I knew from my radio days who always seemed to know somebody. A listener who had once emailed me too much about grief and painkillers and then apologized the next morning. Most did not answer. One did. I will not write his name here because he did not make me do anything. He brought what I asked for because I lied to him and said I had back pain and a prescription that ran out. He looked uncomfortable when he saw me. He asked if I was okay. I said yes. People believe yes when they want to leave. The first pills made the room softer. That is the honest reason I kept taking them. Not because I wanted to die at first. I wanted the edges to blur. I wanted Emily to move farther away. I wanted Harrow's voice to lose its shape. I wanted sleep without dreams, or no sleep, or anything that was not being awake inside my own head. For a little while it worked. I lay on the motel bed with the curtains closed and my shoes on. The television was turned to a shopping channel with the sound off. A woman smiled and held up necklaces I could not focus on. My phone buzzed until the battery died. Sarah, probably. Haynes, maybe. I did not check. When the pills stopped being enough, I took more. Then I drank from a bottle I bought at the gas station next door. Then I took more because my body was still present, and I could still hear the tape. I remember crawling to the bathroom. I remember vomiting into the tub because I missed the toilet. I remember laughing once because the sound that came out of me reminded me of Harrow's cough. I remember lying on the floor with my cheek against cold tile. The last thing I heard before everything went dark was not Emily. It was Ben saying, "I missed you." The motel clerk found me the next morning because Sarah had called every motel near the interstate after Haynes traced my card use to the gas station. The clerk said later that my lips were blue and one of my arms was twisted under me. The ambulance report says I was barely breathing. The hospital report says respiratory arrest, hypoxic injury, prolonged compression, spinal cord infarction, toxic exposure. Those words sound clean. They are not. I woke up 3 days later with a tube down my throat and machines doing the work my body had forgotten. Sarah was in the room. Haynes stood behind her with his hands folded in front of him. A nurse told me not to fight the tube. I tried to move my hand. Nothing happened. I tried my legs. Nothing. Panic came up so hard that the machine screamed before I could. A doctor explained it after they removed the tube. He was gentle. Too gentle. He said there had been damage to my spinal cord and brain from lack of oxygen and how long I had been on the floor. He said they would know more with time. He said some function might return, but I should prepare myself. Prepare myself. That is what people say when they already know the answer and need you to arrive there more slowly. I never walked again. I never fed myself again without help. I can move my head a little. I can breathe on my own most days. My right hand has 2 fingers that twitch if I concentrate, but not enough to hold anything. The rest of me is weight, a body I live inside but cannot command. Sarah brought the kids to see me once, months later, after I had been transferred to long-term care. Hannah stood near the foot of the bed and would not come closer. Ben cried when he saw the chair and the straps and the tube taped near my collarbone. Sarah did not make them stay long. I told them I was sorry. My speech was slow by then, thick in my mouth, each word dragged out like furniture across a floor. Hannah looked at the blanket. Ben asked if I was going to come home. Sarah closed her eyes. I said no. That was the kindest answer I had left. They moved away the next year. I signed the papers with a mark a nurse helped me make. Divorce custody, sale of the house. I did not contest any of it. I had no right to ask them to keep living in the shadow of what I had become. Haynes visited once after the investigations closed. Harrow's storage unit tied him to 5 murders and 2 disappearances. There were families who finally got answers, and families who only got worse questions. The tapes were sealed. My podcast was gone. The episode stayed online for a while because people copy everything, but the official feed was removed. Haynes stood beside my bed and told me Karen Voss had asked him to say something. I blinked once, which meant yes. She said Emily was not yours, he told me. She was not Harrow's. She was not content. She was her sister. I cried then, not loudly. I do not have the strength for loud anymore. Tears ran into my ears and the nurse had to wipe them away. Haynes did not stay long. Now I live in a care facility outside Columbus. I am 47 years old. The staff turns me so I do not rot in one position. They brush my teeth. They lift me with a machine. They clean me when my body does what bodies do. Some of them are kind. Some are just tired. I do not blame the tired ones. Sometimes reporters still request interviews. My lawyer declines them. Sometimes strangers send letters. Most are thrown away. A few get through. They call me a victim. They call me a coward. They call me lucky. They call me proof that evil spreads. I do not know what I am. I know Emily Voss was murdered by Dennis Harrow in 1998. He recorded her pain because he wanted to own it. Decades later, he sent those recordings to me because he saw what I was before I did. Not a killer. Not then. Something easier to use. A man who thought listening was the same as helping. A man who believed he could hold darkness in his hands and stay clean. I did not die because of a ghost. I did not lose my body because a dead woman asked me to. I took those pills because my mind broke, and because I did not step away when every living person begged me to. That is the truth I can say on good days. On bad days, the room is still here. The facility has thick doors and cameras in the corners. The nurses check on me often. At night, other residents cry out or call for people who never come. The building smells like bleach, plastic mattress covers, and food trays. I have no tapes, no phone, no recorder, no headphones. I cannot lift a hand to press play even if I wanted to. Still, when the hallway gets quiet, I hear the click. Not loud. Just enough. Then the hiss starts. Then Emily asks if she can help me. I try to tell her no. I try to tell her I am sorry. Most nights my mouth will not shape the words. The tape only plays.